Well, let's welcome Robert Saucier of GLXZ Gaming.
Hey, Robert.
GLXZ Gaming, welcome.
Thank you.
GLXZ Gaming makes table games for the gaming industry, and it's very rapidly growing in an industry where there's very little competition. Only 2 or 3 companies in the whole business. This has a great opportunity. The symbol is GLXZ. GLXZ Gaming. So,
and Robert, let me. This is Charles Moskowitz in Boston. I seem to recall that I put an app on my phone that has all of GLXZ Gaming's information on it, sort of like an IR site. Is that true?
That is correct. We do have a application that's available for either the iPhone or the Android.
Yeah, I put it on my iPhone. I thought that I remembered that. It's really a move forward in transparency to have something like that out there.
Robert, tell us about the games. Tell us about your company.
Well, essentially, those people who've been to casinos, it's always interesting. Sometimes I do investor conferences where people are investing in microcap stocks, and usually I start out by asking everybody how many people in the room gamble. Maybe about 10% or so of the people will raise their hands. And then I asked the next question. I said, how many people in the room invest in microcap stocks? And probably about 95% of the people raise their hands. So then I say, well, let me re-ask the first question again. How many people gamble?
Yes, that's wonderful.
But anyway, so obviously the gaming industry has become huge. It's an industry that governments turned to during this last recession for more revenues, not only here in the United States but worldwide. So the gaming industry continues to grow and prosper. Certain areas, such as like Las Vegas, we were hurt here in during the recession, but Las Vegas is back. I don't know if it's all the way back, but certainly it's prospered as well as other regional markets. The problem has been there's been so much gambling in so many places now that casinos have to offer more. And so when you go into a casino, you take a look at obviously the first thing that comes to most people's minds is slot machines, but then there are table games, which we're involved in, Keno and bingo and horse and sports betting in Nevada, and other types of gaming that's available. And so, for example, one of the things that's happened in Las Vegas is in the last few years, I think there's been like 18,000 fewer slot machines on the Strip than just a few years back.
Really?
So the trend in slot machines have kind of leveled off. But what's interesting is during that same period, table games have actually increased. So, which is obviously bodes well for our business. And so what we do is if you go into a casino, and most people are used to the traditional public domain table games, such as blackjack, craps, and roulette. But it all started a little over 20 years ago, about 25 years ago, when some entrepreneurs came up with a game called Caribbean Stud. And Caribbean Stud started taking off, and they came up with a proprietary game that was protected by patents. And they licensed this game to casinos. So casinos paid the owners of Caribbean Stud a royalty because players liked that game. The casinos made more money off of that game. And that's really what started this cottage industry, if you will. So following Caribbean Stud, another successful game was Let It Ride, followed by three-card poker, which arguably was the most popular table game ever invented. And since then, there have been a number of different games, of which we have quite a few titles. We have maybe 20 titles, that are proprietary games that are unique. They're new. They're more exciting for the player. The casinos attract people using these games, and the casinos make more money. And so they pay companies like ours recurring revenue in the form of royalties every month that they have the games. So that's kind of a snapshot of what our company does and how we got involved in this.
Now, back up a little bit. You had mentioned something about what would that be? Is it part of the sports books, or because I thought you just bet on the events in a sports book?
I apologize for the misconception. No, I was just talking about various forms of gaming, of which the race and sports books are a part of that.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, that makes sense. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now, do you, obviously, I'm sure you work with the Vegas casinos, and are you working with a lot of the Indian tribes as well? I mean, of course, obviously here in South Florida, the Seminoles have got, the big Hard Rock down in the Miami area. They've got one over in Tampa Bay and Orlando, and you name it. It seems like they're all over the state. Do you work with them as well?
Absolutely. In the United States, Indian gaming, I haven't checked the latest numbers, but last I looked, Indian gaming represented approximately half of all gaming revenue in the United States.
I'm not surprised.
So clearly, you need to include them to be successful. And beyond the U.S., we are now in multiple places around the world. We're throughout Europe. We're in the United Kingdom. We're actually the largest company of our kind in the United Kingdom. We just recently expanded into South Africa. We're throughout the Caribbean. We're on cruise ships worldwide. So, it's truly a global industry.
Well, who is your competition out there?
Well, the competition, I think as I heard Mike say earlier, the competition has been narrowing. There's a very high bar to get into this business. It's difficult to get in from the standpoint that it takes a while to build up the relationships. It takes a while to have a good game become successful.
Right.
And so what's happened over the last 10 to 15 years is that there's been a number of acquisitions. Our company, for example, conducted 6 acquisitions in the last 3 years or so. The other company that was acquiring a lot of the competitors was Shufflemaster, which was then themselves acquired by Bally Gaming for $1.3 billion. That was just last year.
Wow.
So now the two big players is Bally is number one, we're number two, and then it drops off significantly after that. So there's a number of small competitors, and we have our eyes on them. Bally has their eyes on them, but I think in the end it's going to end up being a two-horse race. And I think right now it's clearly we're in a very strong second place, but we have a long ways to go to catch Bally's.
What about the web? Is there anybody web-based that could even come into your realm of competition, or no?
Well, internet gaming is huge. I mean, we certainly know that. It's not allowed on an interstate basis or international basis here in the U.S. yet, but elsewhere it's perfectly legal. And the way we participate in that is we take our intellectual property, so we take our games, our trademarks, our patents, and we license that out to companies who in turn relicense it to companies that provide internet gaming. So you can go online and play some of our games. You won't be dealing directly with Galaxy Gaming, but it's our licensed products nonetheless, and that's how we participate in the internet gaming space.
So
well, I'll tell you right now, it is the amount of revenue that we get from it at this juncture is not really a needle mover. And it's not just for us, it's for really any gaming company, land-based or manufacturing gaming company. Most of us have some interest in the internet space, but the amount of revenue that we get is just not meaningful at this point.
Well,
probably could grow into something, but right now it isn't.
Yeah, and well, I mean, you hear that so much with us in radio and television. Same thing, we're still waiting for our websites to generate some revenue. And that's been, for us, we've been on the web since 1996. So, I understand exactly what you're saying. Now, the app that Charles was talking about with your app, is that actually you, or did you just license that with somebody else?
Well, the app it's an IR app, so it's not you don't play our games on that app. You find out about our company.
Gotcha. Okay.
We are expanding our website to where you will be able to go online. We have two main website addresses. Of course, galaxygaming.com, but we have another one, another domain that we acquired called fieldofrush.com. And fieldofrush.com will eventually have all of our games available for free play to anybody that would like to play the games.
I may have missed it, but what's the situation? I know that some of the casinos, I think in New Jersey, offer online gaming in New Jersey. Is that going to affect you at all in other states?
Well, you're correct. There's actually 3 states that have legalized intrastate online gaming. So I want to emphasize intrastate.
Yeah.
In that that you have to be within the state to be able to do online gaming. And those 3 states is New Jersey, Nevada, and Delaware. And now there was also an agreement. I don't know if it's a compact, but there's an agreement between Nevada and Delaware, and they found a way that they can share their 2 systems. So I don't think that's been implemented yet. But the impact that we've seen so far is, I would say, to people who had high hopes that internet gaming was going to solve everything, the results we've seen is actually disappointing. There just isn't the level of interest in those 3 states. New Jersey obviously has the largest population base, but there just isn't the interest there to make it. I mean, it's viable, but it's not something that we get excited about.
It's kind of an interesting juxtaposition with New Jersey and Delaware versus Nevada. It doesn't take that long to drive from one end of New Jersey to the other, and of course Delaware is minute and compared to that. I can't imagine that if I lived in Delaware, I would bother to play online if I could gamble, 20 miles away, or in New Jersey where, it's obviously a bigger state than Delaware, but clearly not a big state, as opposed to Nevada where, you might be 4 or 5 hours from, from a place.
Either Vegas or Reno.
In fact, just looking to gamble.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think intrastate gaming is a lot like the presidential election. It's those states that have the largest electoral votes are the ones that count the most. So, we're not real excited about Nevada or Delaware, New Jersey, a little, but not that much. But when a California we're not real excited about Nevada or Delaware, New Jersey, a little, but not that much. But when a California comes online or Texas comes online, then you're going to see something significant.
Yeah, but Robert, isn't, you mentioned your website, Feel the Rush. Part of that rush, though, is being in the casino.
Yeah.
Not on a
That's why
computer.
I said,
Yeah,
why would I go online if I could go to the casino in
exactly
40 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, the whole, I would think at least, part of the whole feel is being there.
Yeah, but you have to remember, Greg, on the basis of the state, it's kind of a low barrier to entry since they already do gaming in the state.
Right.
Where even a minor return is still a return. And you're talking about states that obviously need, New Jersey especially, need increased revenues. S&P came out this morning and said that they're getting ready to downgrade New Jersey again because of their uncovered pension liabilities
Sure.
and their budgetary issues. And so, if you're in New Jersey and you produce even just $1 million a year, that's $1 million a year, into your budget coffers, and it all helps. I mean,
Sure.
I'm not sure that it's ever going to amount to a great deal, but if it gives them an extra $1 million or $2 million or $5 million a year, it makes sense for them to do it.
And they don't have enough lanes on their bridges. No, that's
right.
bad joke.
No, the bridges have plenty of lanes. It's the on-ramps and off-ramps.
That's right. Oh, my gosh. Well, Robert, where do you see your biggest areas of growth now?
Well, we just moved into a new building, and the building is actually 4 times the size of our old building. So I think that, arguably we were too frugal for too long. But we moved into a new building. We're still in boxes, still trying to, the whole upstairs is actually still under construction, so we're not going to get fully moved in here for a while. What was interesting, though, is that during all this disruption that we had, we purposely, when we planned this move, we purposely kept the whole sales team out of it. We told them we wanted them to continue to do their job, and they did. And
okay.
Turns out that looks like April numbers were the best month we've ever had as a company. So the focus is really there's the main business that we're going to be getting is going to be coming from the U.S. and from the U.K. We are picking up other revenues in places as far as away as South Africa, but the main thrust of our business is going to be the U.S. and the U.K. That comes from new products that we have that we're introducing. We have a number of product lines that, we had in the works for a long time, but without the physical space, we just weren't able to produce them, and we just weren't able to, get them out there. So we have that. We've been growing this company out of our profit.
So even though you're doing fairly big business relative to the rest of your peer group, you have clearly a greater leverage to grow the company. I mean, the stock is around, 50 cents? And you're talking about 40 million shares. I mean, you get something that generates $5 million, and your company is 20% of growth.
Correct. I mean, correct. I mean, we our biggest, it's funny, our biggest issue right now that we're dealing with in terms of our cash flow is that, we've run out of NOLs and we're a taxpayer. So, which is certainly is a small cap company, you're happy that you're profitable, but, we're still, we'd love to generate even more cash for additional growth. I think one of the strategic moves that's interesting about this industry is if you really study what happened with the Bally's acquisition of Shufflemaster, they paid $1.3 billion for Shufflemaster, and I think right now Bally stock is dropped from about $80 to now it's in the high 50s, and I think their market cap is about $2.2 billion. So there's been a lot of pressure on them that maybe they overpaid for Shufflemaster. and we foresee from what we believe is going to happen in the industry is that Bally is going to be doing a significant price increase on their table game business, which only bodes well for us, obviously. So, by being the number 2 competitor, we can keep some of those price increases in check, but they're still so dominant that, even if they lost some of their business, the price increase would overcome that. And, in that regard, we're actually happy surviving on the crumbs that are left over.
Sound like pretty large
an
crumbs,
interesting
though.
story.
Yeah, it's
A well-leveraged, interesting story.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah, but
And the stock has, I'm looking at the weekly and the monthly chart on it. The stock has performed very well.
tell us about the chart, Charles.
It's
Well,
poised
there was
to
kind
do
of
much
a
better.
large consolidation in the stock over, over a period of years. Up here again. Okay. So on the daily chart, we have consolidations in the 25-cent area back in. So this is all this year. In the 25-cent area, we generally slowly worked up from 25 to 28 cents over a period of 5 or 6 days, and then gapped up to 38 cents, where we consolidated again for roughly 6 weeks. And then what happened in the middle of towards the end of April, Robert, where the stock went in a day from 36 to 49 cents, closed on the high, and has been consolidating. Was there news in that time frame? April 1st, 22nd?
Our official corporate response to that is beats the heck out of us.
Okay.
We had no idea, right?
And we can quote you on that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the weekly, we've basically been between about 17 cents and about 30 cents, which seems like a big range, but you're talking about over a period of years. And now that we started up back in, as I said, that February, March time, where we broke out at 21 cents, and a week later, 2 weeks later, we had a high of 39 and a half, and now we're up here at 46 cents. If the stock continues to consolidate up here, if you could buy it around 43, 44 cents, that would be great, right at support. And one of Mike's favorites, 13-day moving average, where we could see another launch like we did in March from 28 to 38. A move here at 46 cents, the same percent, would take you to about 55, 60 cents. Again, the company is really well leveraged from the standpoint of it's small with a small amount of stock out, where, every new good piece of news takes it higher.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like great.
What's
story.
interesting is I've for many years I've invested in equities and particularly micro caps. But even with some of the larger companies, it amazes me where you see either a sharp spike or a sharp decline in the stock prior to release of earnings. You always scratch your head wondering, okay, who knows something that I don't know, before the earnings has come out. And so when we saw that increase in our stock price before our earnings were released, it's one of those things where you start to ask yourself, is somebody tapped into our computer system and they can see our numbers?
Yeah, in the old days, before apps and internet, the first place you'd look was the printer shop, because that's the way it went out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sure.
I remember working for a company in Dallas where, I had to fax everything to, PR Newswire, and, and of course people start to see it, and, it's amazing. the way that it happens.
Yeah, I think that, most people that look at our company, I'll tell you how outsiders look at it. The first thing they look at is they look at the debt of the company, and they go, oh, my God, look at all that debt. But when they really analyze the debt, they realize that that was part of a leveraged buyout that we did, and it was seller financing. And so really it was it's really an earn-out when you look at it.
Right. It's internal.
Right. So that was, then you look at it and you say, okay, well, there's a value proposition there. And I've invested in value propositions and have gotten burned because one of the things you have to look at, you say, okay, the value is there, but where's the future? Where's the growth?
Yeah, what's the catalyst?
Right. And so, we figured that, well, you know what? We'll just keep plugging away and increasing revenues and increasing profits, and eventually the market will figure that one out.
Right. Over all of the years that I've been involved in the market, I've found that stock price in general, if you look at it over the long term, there is no more efficient pricing than buyers and sellers. So there are a lot of things you kind of grow into, or are disappointments. Well, the market's always right. The bid is, the bid. The price that you can sell the stock is the price of where the stock should be.
Sure.
So,
Robert, long term.
No, it's a great story.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the barrier to entry is not overwhelming, but is higher than most people would want to play to build a company like this from the ground up, the way that this one has been built over the last 3 or 4 years.
There's a little bit of a paradox there as far as the barrier to entry. The first part is that an entrepreneur, a clever entrepreneur, can invent a table game and put it into casinos with probably, far less than $100,000 capital. And if they work it and increase it, they can grow it into a company. And clearly that's how this company started. That's how the inventor of three-card poker started. So there's a couple of those, rags to riches stories in terms of people who have come up with a product. It's tougher now. It's clearly tougher now than it was before, because a lot of the larger casinos are not willing to kind of risk something that's unknown. But where the strong barrier is, even for a large company, to try to get into this business, is it really takes time to get these games to build up a player base, get them into casinos, and get fans that just love the game and they're playing it over and over again, and then it starts spreading out. So we find that in terms of the number of tables, usually the first 50 to 75 tables are going to be our toughest. Once we've hit that threshold and we have a player base and now more casinos want it, and then it really starts to grow. So that's the barrier. What's interesting is that, and there should be no secret here, with the acquisition of Shufflemaster by Bally's, Bally's competitors now are looking at that move. They're examining, was that a good thing, was that not a good thing? If Bally's competitors, which includes companies like IGT and WMS and Konami and Aristocrat and a very long list of slot machine companies, if they decided that they wanted to get into the table game business, their cheapest way into the market is to acquire a company like ours. Yeah. And so we're not positioning our company that way, but clearly, that's the 800-pound gorilla that people are aware of, that it's there,
Well, Robert, the fact of the matter is that there's been a tremendous increase in merger and acquisition business. But it's not really, if you look at some of these things, it's not really the strategic deals only getting done. It's some of these bigger deals that rely on what they're now calling inversion, which is relocation, taking over a company that is located in a tax haven and making that your tax haven from that side. But the overwhelming, what the commentators have been talking about now for a couple of weeks, is the fact that there's so much money around that it's fueling mergers and acquisitions because economically they make sense and there's plenty of money. And so, it's, again, the leverage of your company with a $20 million market cap and 40 million shares outstanding. That's a cheap deal. I mean, that's a really cheap deal. You think about it, rather than create your company again, if someone wanted to pay $1 for it, your stock would double. And, I'm not saying that $1 is the value or the top value for an acquisition, but you can see where some of these deals are coming from. And as it relates to the new games, it may be cheaper because there are so many people and so many organizations that could create a game, as you say, for $100,000 or $200,000. The fact of the matter is that just means that there is a larger group and that those games are worth less.
Robert, have you got
competition?
Yep. Have you gotten their attention? I mean, do they acknowledge you at all?
You're talking about the larger slot companies?
I'm talking Bally's in particular. I mean, do they even, acknowledge that you're around?
We're a. Let's just put it that we may be a pimple on their posterior, but
yes,
it's something they have to scratch at a lot.
Right.
Well, hey, that's been there, done that. Well aware of that. Well, Robert, boy, best of luck to you at Galaxy Gaming, and your website is galaxygaming.com or feeltherush.com. And stock symbol, Charles?
GLXZ.
Oh, GLXZ. Cool. Very good. Hey, good luck to you.
Very good. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much, Robert Saucier, of Galaxy Gaming, and welcome aboard. Money Info. Hopefully, we'll be talking with you very, very soon.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All righty.
You're welcome.
Michael.
By the way.
Yep. Go ahead, Charles.
I'm just on the Yahoo site. Even though there's 38.5 million shares outstanding, 40 million shares outstanding, the float is only 14.5 million.
Wow.
And so, that's, $7 million worth of stock.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and there is no Rule 17B at this point.
Right.
Because they haven't paid for anything.
Oh, we can always hope, though, right? Right, Mike? Well, this sounds very interesting. I mean, I never thought, obviously, you've got to have people developing these games. And, Galaxy obviously has got a good track record there. And, slots are slots. I mean, they're just going to be there. But this stuff is all new. And, I think they got quite a future. It sounds intriguing. Really intriguing. We only have about a minute. Obviously, the newsletter every weekend. Get it at princetonresearch.com. And Charles, the texting service?
69302. Text the word updates to 69302.
All right. Well, hey, guys, I can't believe this week is over already. Holy smokes. You guys were awesome. Tremendous. GalaxyGaming.com. Take a look at it, folks. Another micro cap on the move.